Welcome to the SSN On Base podcast, where we're talking baseball, both MSU and everything about baseball. Here's your host, Rob Bennett.
All right, welcome fans to our special Michigan State Baseball 2016 season preview, brought to you, of course, by the Spartan Sports Network, and our plush new digs here at the CBRE Martin Studios. I'm Rob Bennett, but more importantly than that are the three gentlemen joining me today to, I guess, officially kick off the MSU baseball season, starting off with Spartan Sports Network's dynamic duo, covering Michigan State baseball together up in the radio booth, entering 3 years together. Welcome, of course, Jake Boss Sr. and Scott Moore. Guys, going on 3 years. Now, Scott told me the other day, Coach, going on 3 years, that's like halfway through common marriage.
Yeah, we're almost common law now.
Yeah, and I'm surprised he's put up with me for this long. But
and the same is true likewise. So.
But we have a good time doing it, and really enjoy it.
Yep. Excellent. Well, it's great to have you guys here, of course. And it just would not be a true Spartan baseball podcast without the man in charge entering his 8th season, Coach Jake Boss Jr. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great, guys.
Thanks for having
us. Thanks for having us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Good time to kick off another season.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Yeah, and of course, I wanted to ask you real quick. You wear number 23.
I do.
Now, is there any significance to that? None.
Nope.
You know, you get some guys with. How about you, Coach? Did you, when you were a player or
25? Yeah.
And was there any significance to that?
No. Well, no, not really. No.
All right. Well, that was a first easy question to get through.
Well,
I always wore 23, I guess, all the way back in high school. So it's just always been the number that I've had. So,
growing up, Earl, I don't know, you guys too young to remember this guy, but Earl Batty was an outstanding catcher with the White Sox. Came up with the White Sox and ended up being traded to the Twins. Anyway, I really tried to pattern myself after him, and he wore number 26. And so I wore 26 for 1 year. And then I started coaching up here in Michigan, and there was no 26, there was a 25. So I've been...
All right. So it was close.
Yeah.
there you go.
All right. Scott, you have many numbers.
I don't have any numbers. My number was always 00 for some reason. So.
All right. The first segment I want to talk to you guys about is the off season, obviously.
Yeah.
And first, I want to talk about the 8 guys that were drafted from Michigan State last year, a record that broke 7 from 1966. And, of course, we'll talk about those guys yet and their journey. I'm sure you guys keep in touch with those guys. So, and how proud are you of those guys living their dream, basically, and you guys helping them through that to this point. And, of course, Anthony Checky, we can't forget about him.
That's right.
Who not just recently got picked up in a minor league deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So
right.
just, if you could, to discuss that a little bit and how proud you are of those guys, all three of you, because you guys got to know those guys, obviously, very well.
Well, yeah, I mean, all those guys, or most of them, I guess, majority of them were drafted out of high school as well. And so, I know a few of them were a little disappointed they weren't drafted after their junior year. But to their credit, they came back, worked hard, and put themselves in a position to get drafted in after their senior year. The exceptions to that obviously would be Cam Gibson, who really came in kind of very raw and just continued to get better and better and better. And I would expect the same in pro ball with him. But 5th rounder and. Obviously the right decision for him to go out, and it's a good time to do it. Anthony Misevich, another one that went undrafted out of high school, but just continued to improve and put himself in a good spot. We're happy to have Cam View back, who was drafted as a redshirt sophomore, so he can go into the draft another 2 times. And I think it was a wise decision on his part, both athletically, from a maturity standpoint, and probably financially to come back for 1 more year. So, but Krill and Salter and those guys, Van Vossen, all earned those opportunities, and we're excited to have more Spartans in pro baseball, and I'm excited to watch those guys progress. And then Checky was it's a neat story because I think he would have been drafted had he not had a back injury, and really battled through that his entire senior season, and had surgery right after the season, got himself healthy, we started to kind of help him a little bit with sending out some information to different scouts, sending some video out for him, and Diamondback scouts saw it, liked it, worked him out a couple times, and ended up signing him. So, he'll report to spring training here and probably in another month, and it's another guy with another opportunity. So, fired up for him.
And what about you?
Yeah,
you're real close with those guys too.
Yeah, those. I'm really happy for all those kids, and it's going to be a different ball club without the Checkies and without the Gibsons. Watching those kids run the bases and legging out triples and helmets flying off and so forth. It was exciting, and those kids were really fun to watch. And the pitching that we lost there with Mishevitz and Van Vossen, I think we're going to be able to pick up the slack pretty much, with our pitching here this year. But I think it's going to be a little bit different ball club. We don't have the real thumpers like we had last year with Krill and Salter, banging them out, and so it'll be interesting.
I hadn't heard the thing about Anthony Checky yet. That's all news to me, and I think the Diamondbacks got a really good guy there. He's going to be a leadership type of guy just because of his attitude and what he'll bring, off of the diamond, certainly.
A lot of positive things really happened in the offseason. Wanted to talk to you about your assistant coaches coming back, Graham Sykes and Skylar Mead. How important is that continuity to still have those guys and what they bring to the team?
Well, yeah, no question. I mean, they're both outstanding workers. They're outstanding people, great coaches. The knowledge of the game is tremendous. And I think. When you have success in the program, your assistants are going to have opportunities, like Coach Gernon a few years ago, Coach Vandermeed a few years ago. It's good for them. I was in that situation as well. It's everybody's dream, I think, to be a head coach at some point. And, so I would expect, those two guys to have some opportunities down the road a little bit. But at the same time, they continue to do a fantastic job for us, and really kind of that continuity right now is important because of the youth that we have on our team.
Yeah. And you guys have gotten to know them really pretty well too. And just what do you see as that they continue to grow in their roles?
I just really like what Graham Sykes brings to the team. This calmness that he has, but he can be intense at times too.
Sure.
I really like working with him. Skylar, I don't know as well. It was his first year, but I like his enthusiasm and what he brings to the bullpen there. We're working with the guys. I think we've got a great staff. There's no question about it.
And we added Jordan Kerr as our new volunteer. Right. And, Ian Hearn did a great job for us last year, but he's got a house full of kids and a family to feed, and it's tough to do on a volunteer salary, as a senior can tell you. So so we picked up, he went back and got a high school teaching job and is doing very well. We got still a very good relationship with him, and picked up Jordan Kerr, who was our left fielder here and an outstanding player. Was at Eastern Michigan as a volunteer last year, so we kind of stole him away from Mark and down there, and he's doing a great job for us now. He brings a lot of credibility. He's played here. He's got a genuine love for Michigan State, and he's a perfect fit for our staff.
The thing that as I look at that staff and as I look at the ball club, they're character guys. Those guys are they're character coaches, and we've got character players, and I've been watching Coach Mead, work with the pitchers, I thought he came in a pretty tough situation after Coach Vandermeed had left, and Mark had been here from the get-go with Jake, and had a great relationship with the kids. The kids loved him, and of course he leaves, and then you got the new guy coming in. How are those guys going to respond to the new guy on the block? And to Coach Mead's credit, those kids have responded very positively, and I think think that says something about the kids as well. But the relationship that he has established with his pitchers now is very similar to Coach Vandermeet when he was here. So that's it's headed in a good direction.
For sure. And of course, maybe the biggest news this offseason, the renovations. Cobes Field, huge heated infield, and Coach Boss, you've tweeted that process all throughout the fall and into now. You are a tweeting machine. You're like the anti-Tom Izzo when it comes to that technology, and it's been great to see. Take us through that process of getting that done to the field and finally seeing it come to fruition. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Michigan State is the first in the country to have that technology put in, correct?
Right. First in the world with a baseball field, at least.
Yeah.
It's over in Europe on clay court, tennis courts, and soccer fields and things like that. But it's electrical ribbons underneath the field that really it's basically controlled with an iPad that kind of acts as a thermostat, which is incredible. There's a company in Amsterdam that has set up a camera here that they installed it, and they can control it from over there and really kind of assist us in the whole process of making sure that we don't go too fast or too slow and don't kill the grass or whatever. But Amy Fowdy, our groundskeeper, came to me, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago with the idea and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, it sounds like a great idea. Let's try to do it." And then the fundraising process began. We had a number of donors really step up and be very generous to our program, which allowed us to obviously about a year ago we got the final gift, and then the planning began, and they started construction in the summer, I believe in mid July. Finished it in early September. We did get a brand new infield out of the deal, which is a big league surface. I mean, the Brian Storm, who's a Michigan State alum, owns a company called Fields Incorporated, and they've done several big league baseball stadiums, several NFL football fields, and so they obviously have a pretty good idea what they're doing. And so they put in the new infield. We turned the heating system on just to test it in December or early January, I guess it would have been, and it's been great ever since. It's been a game changer for us. We've been outside. I think our 8th practice is today. We're going outside again today. With this, I think the 5th time we've been outside. And so for early February, trying to get ready to play. Now we're 11 days away from our first game. To have the opportunity to not only be outside but to see live pitching, not in a cage. Depth perception is different. I mean, it's just a tremendous advantage for us.
Well, to get your infielders on the infield that they're going to be playing the majority of their games on, that's invaluable.
Well, that is huge too, and it's just something different about, obviously being on your field and instead of being inside on the turf. And, I've compared it in the past to Tom Anastas trying to get his team ready with rollerblades in a parking lot, and it's kind of the same type of thing, when we're inside in turf, it's just different. We can get work done, and Tom could probably get work done, in a parking lot with the rollerblades on, but it's different. And so like I said, I think this is a game changer for us to be able to inter squad. I think this will be our 4th inter squad today, and just to be in a game setting, game situation for our young guys and our freshmen especially is huge right now this time of year.
And how important is it, too, that, the old stigma, guys, Midwest baseball, the weather, can't get teams from out west to come and, down south to come. But this process now is going to help debunk that whole system, hopefully, and get some big-time teams, which we'll talk about the schedule here in a little bit coming up. But, to just debunk that whole thing about Midwest baseball and the weather, because it is a factor, but this obviously helps that process in a positive.
Well, we've lost a couple series in years past because the field wasn't ready. There was frost underneath the field; it was frozen, and we're not alone in that. That's why more and more schools, especially in our conference, are going to turf. And maybe I'm a purist, but I don't think the game should be played on turf. When all the big league stadiums go to turf, then I said, we'll think about it. But right now there's 2 big league stadiums that play on turf, and Toronto is one that the rumor is they're going to go to grass here soon. So that would leave 1 out of, 30. Mm-hmm. So if the big leagues are playing on grass, and we have the opportunity and the technology to do that, then we'll play on grass. But it will keep us home, and especially in the middle of March, where we don't have to move a series to, last 2 years ago, I think it was, we had to move a home series down to Ohio State and play down there as the home team, which was a little odd. But, when we start scheduling bye weeks and we have an early bye week and trying to play more home games, this is a, unbelievable advantage.
The other thing along with that, coaching high school baseball for as long as I did, the thing that, we never got outside, never had the opportunity to get outside early, before the season started, and to in those kids, your kids get, they're stuck, they're in the doldrums. Oh, here we go, we're in the gym again, and I think the same kind of thing, can affect, the kids here at this level when they're inside. I want to hit some, I want to get some fly balls outside. I want to get some ground balls outside. Well, you can't, and I want to hit out there, and so mentally, I think it's really helped the kids.
All right, gentlemen, as we prepare for opening day, that means kicking off with a long road trip.
Right.
And it starts in South Carolina, then to Corpus Christi, Texas, then Port Charles, Florida, then Tampa before opening day at Copesfield on March 23rd. Now, I've asked you guys this question a lot about the long road trips, and of course it's team building, which is very important, the chemistry with each other, but for coaches, how difficult and taxing is it? What are some of the good things about it? What are some of the bad things about it? And as a broadcaster now, Scott, you've been on those long road trips with the Lugnuts and a couple of long road trips for Big Ten here, and Coach, you've done both now. So is there one easier maybe than the other, or just the dynamics of the long road trip that happens, and the chemistry that happens?
Sure. I mean, from a team standpoint, the players, they're in warm weather, over spring break, and it's an 11-day trip, and we're able to practice outside. We're able to take BP outside, and a lot of parents and family will come down and watch, and so from a player's perspective, you can't beat it. There's nothing better. And even the first 2 weekends where we leave Thursday night and we come back Sunday night, I mean, it's those can be kind of a grind, but at the same time they're young, and we know we're going where it's warm, and so that's part of it as well. I think from a coach's standpoint, obviously, number one, we're excited to kick the season off. We're excited to get out and really compete and see what we got with the new ball club. It is taxing on our families. There's no question about that. I've got 3 kids at home, and my wife is running around like crazy while we're gone, and that can be hard. My youngest is in 2nd grade, and she's just starting to figure out now that Dad's gone and for how long, and so those can be tough. You try to get them to travel with us if it's possible. Without my kids missing too much school. The long trip over spring break is the tough one as far as the coaching staff is concerned, because it's gone. We're away from our families for 10, 11, 12 days, and by the end of that trip, I think we're ready to come home. But at the same time, we're ready to play at home at that point too. I mean, sure. It's enough is enough of being on the road. It's time to open up at Combs Field. So.
Scott, you as a broadcaster, how?
As a broadcaster, these early trips are easy for me because all I have to do is turn on my computer and see what's going on with the team, because I'm still here in Michigan doing hockey games.
Right.
But, I had the experience of the long road trip last spring when we went up to Minneapolis, ended the regular season there, and then played in the Big Ten tournament at Target Field afterwards. So we were gone for a little bit more than a week. on that one. The issue for me was, do I have enough clothing that I can pack?
That's true.
So that I could wear clean shirts the whole time. So that was difficult for me. But I can see where, just having traveled with both the hockey team and with the baseball team, the team building aspect of getting on the road, especially early in the season, is one of those things that you really look forward to, just to see how these guys do together and how they get together. I feel for the coaching staff, because having been through airports with whole teams, that's a little nerve-wracking at times.
Be a challenge sometimes.
Make sure that everybody's at the right place at the right time and has the right gait and hasn't gone the wrong direction. But it's those early road trips can really be good for a team.
Well, now, Coach Senior, you like I said, now you're on both ends of it.
Yeah.
So what different dynamics, obviously, but what is your take on that?
Yeah, it's a little bit different than Jake and the other coaches in that I don't have any kids at home. I'm just kind of concerned about when I leave how much time my wife is going to spend at the mall, and but no, so the kids aspect is gone. I really look forward to the preseason or pre-Big Ten or pre-home season, the travel down south and so forth. I recall many of our trips in high school, because I used to take the kids to spring training in high school, and in the bonding and all that goes into that kind of thing. The cohesiveness of your ball club is made then, and so forth, and that's really neat to see. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, I loved it. It was all baseball, and I couldn't wait, to get on the field the next day, and so it was good. But the long bus rides, from Minneapolis back to Lansing, last year is hard. So. But anyway, yeah, it was good.
We've got a couple of those coming up this year.
We do.
Yeah.
State and Iowa.
We do.
Yep.
Well, we mentioned the first one of the road trips first for you is South Carolina, and the history that Michigan State has at LaFleur Stadium.
Floor Field.
Floor Field, yes,
yeah.
thank you. Just talk about the history between Michigan State and that, and the importance of keeping that going, because it's got quite the history.
Well, it really is. Craig Brown is an alum, a Michigan State alum, and a very strong supporter of our program. And Craig owns the minor league team in Greenville, South Carolina. It's a single A affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. He's got a beautiful field down there. It's a replica of Fenway Park in the dimensions, but the stadium itself is just an incredible stadium. It's one of the nicest facilities that we will play at all year long. And Michigan State went down to Greenville the year before I got here, and it was a round-robin tournament down there that they hosted, and we just decided, the schedule was already set for my first year in 2009, and we went down there and had such a good experience that we said, we're going to keep coming back, and that's the one thing that we do every year. That's the only real constant, I guess, in our schedule, is that we will go to Greenville every year that I'm here. Yeah. Craig and his staff treat us great. The town is an unbelievable town. We don't take a bus when we're there. We drop our guys off at the hotel, and we stay about a half a mile from the stadium. So they let us move into their locker room, and therefore we don't have to carry a bunch of gear back and forth. And we let our kids walk the streets, basically, of Greenville, and we kind of take over the place for the weekend, and it's a lot of fun. We play good baseball down there. There's a lot of good baseball that comes in, and more northern schools want to come down now and be a part of it because of the experience that we tell everybody that we have down there. So a lot of fun, highlight of our year, and it's fun to open up our season down there too.
It's like the home away from home.
It really is, yeah, it really is.
All right, we're going to end this portion of this podcast. I got to ask you, seems like I might have asked you a lot of this last year, but for all three, give me a little road story, a road trip story, if you will. That's works well with Spartan Sports Network. We'll just put it that way. But the one that's appropriate, maybe, is the best word for Spartan Sports Network. One that pops into your mind, maybe last year. One maybe from last year, or whatever one that really first pops into your mind.
Well, I don't recall anything really being that eventful. Being on the road. I remember two trips to Minnesota. We flew there, but we ended up driving back twice from Minneapolis, on the bus, and at the time I was suffering from some sciatica,
right,
and just coming off an operation and looking forward to another operation on my back and trying to get comfortable at 8-10 hours on that bus coming home. It wasn't easy, but I don't really remember any eventful things happening.
No, last year probably my favorite thing was when we were up in Minneapolis. We'd finished the regular season. The whole team went to a Twins game, and then afterwards we got together at Humphreys for a team meal, and I think it was you had that flaming hot burger.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was good. I was sweating for a couple days.
That looked dangerous.
Yeah.
Somebody else got one of the stuffed burgers that had the cheese inside the burger. I'd heard about them. I'd never seen. Both of them looked way too dangerous for me.
Well, for me, probably the trip to Minnesota sticks out a couple years ago, because we were flying out of Lansing, and it was the one and only time I think that we've flown out of Lansing. We usually fly out of Flint or Detroit. And I got a phone call. Our flight was delayed. The plane was coming in that was going to come pick us up. We watched it. It was a really windy day. We watched the plane come in. We watched it, come in like this, and all of a sudden it took back off and kept going in the air. And he said it was too windy to land. The plane was going to Detroit, to land in Detroit, and then they would come back when the weather settled down a little bit. So we had a couple hours of delay in Lansing. We called some pizza place and had them deliver a bunch of pizzas to our to the gate at the airport. We're sitting there with the softball team. We're on the same flight. So the pizzas come, we eat, the plane finally lands. Meanwhile, I got a call from Minnesota's head coach and says, "Hey, I just want you to know, we were supposed to get a lot of rain tonight, but all of a sudden it's getting cold and the rain's turned into snow." And he says, "I think we'll play, but we're probably not going to play tomorrow. We have turf. We'll get the snow off the field, and we'll play a doubleheader Saturday and play Sundays." Okay, I mean, we're flying up. There's nothing we can do now. We're at the airport. So that was the last I heard from them. They expected, I think, 4 inches of snow on that Thursday night. We landed to 8 inches of snow. And not only 8 inches of snow, but record cold in Minneapolis, believe it or not.
Wow.
That for that
it's
time
pretty
of
cold
year.
then. Yeah.
And it was really cold, and which meant all the rain and the snow turned to ice, which normally wouldn't be a problem, but they couldn't get the machinery on the field to get the ice off, which meant we flew in Thursday night, practiced Friday at their facility, practiced Saturday at their facility, and then they said, we're not going to play. We cannot get the snow off the field. It didn't get above probably 25 degrees when we were there. And so we jumped on the bus Saturday afternoon and drove home. And that was an expensive trip to go practice in Minnesota's indoor facility twice. And that was a tough one. So that one probably sticks out. But, we got a lot of time on the road, especially when weather hits. So you're always looking to fill that time with something.
All right, guys. Well, I couldn't think of a better way to end part one of our season preview of Michigan State baseball. Better than that, fans, don't worry. Part two of this preview is coming up. So until then, I want to thank my guests. As always, thanks, guys. And the man behind the camera, Seth Newman, as well. Until next time, I'm Rob Bennett. Go Green.